as telling Bonnie, and maybe this is a question we need to speak about here. Every journalist or activist has that worry of security for our devices, and so in that moment when we thought we are going to be killed, I'm asking myself, but at what point do you put your life over the gadgets? As journalists, we are told that there's no story worth your life. So I am thinking there's no gadget worth your life. So as a journalist, I always think that I will not give my gadget willingly if it compromises the security of sources. Because in those governments, in this security, whatever, you have some people that give you information, and those ones you want to protect with your life. Now, for Bonnie's phones, I don't know what was on it. And as asking, did he think through and assess whether this is worth it? And we had this conversation for the first time because I didn't see him until just, was it yesterday? But Saturday when I came to Nairobi. And he was giving me this explanation of that we have people we are working with. We have friends in Tanzania. But I'm still saying, I would don't know, and that's me. I think that's a moment where everyone has to rationalize and think about what's the best. I'm still thinking people we're working with were not working on anything, any crime, any secret. If we are a rebel group that is trying to overthrow these people that should be overthrown, by the way, I would say that I don't want them to find that I was working with Manasseh or with, but there's no crime. Even if they had found that I am in Tanzania with General Ulimwengu, they wouldn't find me saying, let's keep the guns here. There's no conversation that is criminal there. Yes, because we are dealing with rogue people, it might endanger them. But I just like to stand in truth. I had been very transparent from the time they asked me that this is what I'm here for. These are people who are colleagues. When they're in trouble, we show up to show solidarity. So if it was in my case, I would have said, okay, you can have them. Look at what I was doing. Look at what we agreed that let's be here for Tundu Lissu's case. But all through that, I thought that was Bonnie's decision to make, not mine. I think everyone here, even you guys, if you are in that sort of situation, it's you to think through it and assess, do maybe a cost-benefit analysis or risk analysis, if it were in my case. And I know you will never find me engaged in crime. So if my phone means saving my life, I'll give it to you. You're not going to find anything that is, So Bonnie can say,
I did not think you were going to be tortured because of the phone. So I thought I'd given Agatha some of my gadgets and she passed the gadget to someone else. And my problem was Agatha says we should give them to, then they pick that other person, then they pick another person, and then it'll be all arrested in the same hotel because all of us in the same hotel. So I thought it was a risk worth taking, but I never thought they were going to torture me because my arrest was very public. So the gadgets were never found, and some brave Kenyans were able to smuggle them back to the country.
Yes. But there was never any criminal search warrant also for our nothing. So it was all illegal from the start. It was an illegal process.
Yes.
Talking about sitting for custody, and I'm wondering, have you filed any complaint on the authorities or other plans?
So we were filing a case in Tanzanian court. We're going to sue the Tanzanian state in Tanzania.
Yeah. And we are going to sue them in every other avenue. Where we will find justice is where, because the international justice process requires that you first exhaust local avenues, and we have to do that. But like I said, we cannot expect justice from Tanzania, but we want to exhaust all other avenues, regional, the EACJ, which unfortunately also sits in Tanzania. And that also makes you wonder if you'll get justice from that, the African court, and political avenues. If there are sanctions because for me, I have been saying let's identify these people and put them out there. If we can get sanctions for them, so we are really trying to say, let's exhaust all avenues and we see where we'll get some sort of remedy. And the lawyers have been working on that. Yeah, so we are going to go everywhere until we find where we can find justice. Yes.
Can you tell us and then yes.
And that's also the mentioned the lack of labor. Do you suspect that they could have known more?
Well, when Mafole began beating me at the police station with the other officers, Mafole said that he knows about me, that I was involved in the Kenyan protest, and I burnt Kenya's parliament down, and I was a troublemaker. So there's a bit of information from the torturers that could only come from Kenyan authorities. And I think for them to escalate from an arrest to torture, they had to think that the government doesn't care about us. And that's why Agad was saying that if it wasn't for Kenyans and Tanzanians and Ugandans who spoke about our plight and our arrest, we would have disappeared forever. Our government was complicit in that torture. And if you look at our Foreign Affairs Minister Mudavadi, when he spoke, he did not apologize to me. He apologized to Tanzanians that we took our bad manners to Tanzania. So it's very clear that our government had a role to play in our torture.
So it's maybe anecdotal. We don't have any proof that they were involved, but there's corroborative evidence or circumstantial. When the president of Tanzania puts out a statement about how we were there to destabilize or something like that, I didn't read it, but the CDF in Uganda, who is also the president's son, was Kinerugaba, sort of retweets, quotes the tweet and says, that's why she's my favorite. Deal with them or something like that, you know? So while you cannot say he speaks for government, he's part of government and he said that. But also the fact that they didn't raise a finger, apart from the ambassador of Uganda to Tanzania, who also wasn't acting on behalf of government, but was acting because I have an uncle who was his comrade in the Bush War, because this is also part of the Museveni Bush War. So there are historicals, and he was a former Secretary General for the East African Community and had called him and said, find my niece and all that. I don't think he did a lot. He corresponded with my family a lot about me, but I don't think it was as government of Uganda. It was an individual who has been asked for a favor by a former comrade. So the government itself does know where is our citizen, what crime have they committed, nothing like that. So that should be enough for someone to think they were accomplices by action or inaction. That's what I would say. Yeah.